What is up, guys? Ricarius here, and in this video we are going to be talking about a deck that's been really overhyped in the past, I don't know, 2 months or so, and that deck is going to be Dusk main Necrozma-Magnezone. So if you guys don't know what this card does, it's pretty decent. On its own, it's god awful, but with Magnezone, it's pretty decent. So for the first attack, we got 60 for 3 colorless. It's actually not bad if you're playing something like a DCE, which I did test in this deck. But 60 for 3 energy definitely isn't awful. You can, Zora has 60 HP. Ralts, you hit that thing for weakness anyways, but that's doing 60. Zora is going to be the big one, and you got your Rockruff, so 60 is really a golden number there. So that's a pretty good first attack. The second attack is the main attack we're going to be focusing on. 3 metals in the colorless, does 220, and it says discard 3 energies attached to this Pokemon. Now, it doesn't specify which kind of energy, so that's why I was toying around with the DCE. So you can attach a DCE on this boy, discard that, and then a metal, and that's your 3 energy. But I found that to be a less consistent option, mainly because you have to dedicate some of your energy spaces for the DCEs, and then you can't use Mount Coronet and such to get it back. And then his GX attack is actually very, very underrated, I think. It does 250, but only if you're behind in prizes. So at first glance, it seems really awful because you're like, oh, it's super aggressive deck. Why would you ever be? It's not that. It's not that like streamlined, consistent. It's going to be about your consistency of a Tapu Bulu Vikavolt deck, like plus a little bit more, because we do have some tools in here that Tapu Bulu Vikavolt does not have. So I'd say it's a little bit more consistent than that, but overall nothing too stellar. So we do run 3 of this guy for that consistency. I was thinking about 2, but considering he's like our only attacker, a lot of these kinds of decks run like Celesteela, like Genesect. I really don't see any of that necessary. So the Celesteela, people run it for, it doesn't have a fire type weakness. Whoop-de-doo. The problem with that is that, so Celesteela, while it doesn't have a fire type weakness, it can actually one-shot Vulk back unless it uses its GX attack. So that's, it probably gets you ahead in like, the prize race a little bit. Oh, because you can one-shot a Vulk, whatever. But, the fact of the matter is they're just going to come back and they can even one-shot you. They can power up something like a Ho-Oh if they see you bringing Celesteela and just attack with that, because they can one-shot you very, very easily with stuff like Steam Up. And with Celesteela, you just don't have that one-shot potential. So Volcanion's definitely going to be a roughest matchup just because of how consistent it is. And the fact that, they can hit you with Baby Vulk for massive damage. Because if they start Steam Artillerying instead of like Volcanic Heating off of their EX, then you're going to be at a prize disadvantage for sure. So that's Celesteela. Dialga is I don't know. So for 5 energies, if you don't know it, I actually have a proxy like right here. Reason why I don't include Dialga. Dialga's GX attack does 150, and then you get to like go again, like it's your turn again. So it's stupid good, but like for 5 energies, you might as well like attack with this guy again. And like, I don't know, like if his other attack was good, fine, you'd hit for like 180 choice band and then smack another one shot. But without it, you just have to have like this and that guy. It's like, it's too much. It's too much. And then what was the other one? Genesect? I don't see Genesect being good at all. Because with Genesect, you can make the argument where against Gardevoir, you don't need to discard the energies. And while that's completely true, if you choose not to discard the energies, then that means that Gardevoir only needs 3 energies to one-shot you back. So discarding the energies is really what gives this thing the edge against Gardevoir. But it's also what kind of runs it a little bit dry early game. So that's why I don't choose to run these sort of tech attackers, as you will see. And I also choose to run some interesting stuff. But this is the best sort of list that I've tested this thing for like, I don't know, 2 months already. Since the scans first came out, I was testing this thing. I'm not going to say my list is the best by any means because top players, you're probably going to beat me. But this is the best list that I've come up with. So anyways, back to the list. We run 1 of this Magnemite and then 2 of this Magnemite. So everyone's like, oh, this one's so good. Why don't you run 3? The other one's better. So this guy, for his first attack, you search your deck for 3 metals and put it in your hand. So that's really good. Like if you have a rare candy Magnezone in hand, you can actually throw up this guy. Granted, you have another one on bench. That's another big thing. You can't attack with this guy and then have it die. You know, that's not good. So normally you're going to want to bridge it for like both of these if you can find a good way to retreat and attack. Which in hindsight, I don't really play any float zones, so that's not really possible. But if you like start with this guy, like this is really good. Or like if you go like first or whatever, and you can get this guy out turn 1 and not die turn 2, then you can use his attack and then rare candy the other Magnezone. So this guy actually, his ability is prevent damage done to him when he's on the bench. So that means like no Buzzwole, which is like the game changer in the meta right now. We see so many Buzzwole decks appearing dominant, and some decks even teching in Buzzwoles just to snipe off stuff like this. So, against stuff like, if you like lead, I run a lone Vulpix, if you like lead a lone Vulpix or whatever, and Beacon's the better option for you, then you're not going to use this thing. But in like, every other option, I'd recommend like trying to attack with this thing because it's really good. Like if you get the energies and the rare candy Magnezone, but then this guy is also really good for that bench blocking sort of ability there. So there is our Magnemite split. We have 1 of the attack one and then 2 of the bench barrier one. I got 1 Magneton because I don't know, a lot of people run like a and Pikachu Magnezone, they run like a 303. I don't really like that at all, especially considering if you don't hit Rare Candy Magnezone turn 2, and you can get Magneton, which normally you can do a lot of the times. You have an Ultra Ball, but not that Rare Candy. And especially if you have 2 Magnemites out, it never hurts to Ultra Ball for Magneton, and then evolve 1 of them, and then if you hit Rare Candy Magnezone after the Sycamore or whatever, then you can Rare Candy the other one up. But Magneton is so good because you just evolve Magnemite on turn 2, and then you're guaranteed a Magnezone turn 3. You don't have to dig for that Rare Candy Magnezone combo and potentially get N out of. So that is why I choose to run Magneton. We got 3 Magnezone here because that's our main dog. I was thinking about maybe like 2 or something, but I don't know. 3 seems like 10 times more consistent. The fact that we want a rare candy, like for our ideal option, is just, we gotta have 3. We gotta have 3. 3-Tapu Lele, mainly because, I was going with 2. I was going with 2 earlier. I just gotta make this, like, fit in the camera, sorry. Yeah, so I was going with 2 Lele, because you don't really need it in that matchup too much, or in all matchups. You don't really need it that much, but the turn 1 Bridget, I was testing this thing, and I was like, why aren't I hitting turn 1 Bridget, like, at all? The 3 Lele really does make a difference. You're not going to use, like, the bench space in this deck is going to be sort of thin. So you're not going to use Lele that much. But I will say, Lele for Fisherman is probably one of the most broken plays I have ever done. Like, the fact that you can smack with this thing and do like 220, discarding 3 energy, and then you Lele for Fisherman and then get them all back, and then do it again. It's just absolutely insane. So, you're not going to necessarily have that much bench space if you bridge it out double Magnemite. But it's definitely the good option if they, they snipe and kill one of them. Oh, you have a bench space for Lele now. So that is why I choose to play 1 Lele. We run 1 of this Prism Star Solgaleo. Oh boy, I pushed the Lele's up. So what the Prism Star Solgaleo does, for those of you who do not know, this first attack, first of all, it's 160. That's just bonkers for like a basic non-EX or GX. I think it's the highest we've ever had. So granted, with the Prism Star, you can only play 1 of these guys in your deck. But the first attack, it does no damage, but it does You can attach a metal energy to any of your Pokemon, so even this guy, for as many Pokemon as your opponent has in play. So you can even do this early game, but you're not going to have the energies in the discard. So late game is where this guy comes to shine. If your opponent has like 2 prizes left, you throw up this guy and say, all right, I'm going to use these attack as Rising Star. You're going to use Rising Star, power up like 1.5 Dust made Necrozmas, and then you pretty much have the game. If you have Guzma in hand, or normally what you would do, you wouldn't do that. You'd probably power up this guy and one of your bench, because normally the 160 is enough to, knock out, whatever, if you need your last prize, and you have Guzma in hand or whatever. So this, and the second attack does like 160, and then I think you can attack. So it is my buddy Malachi. He mentioned that 160 is also your Volk counter. So not only are you attacking with a non-EX and you can hit the baby Volk and one shot that, but you can also choice band and make the prize trade in your favor, just as Volk decides to do with you. So yeah, I don't see myself using this card very much, but I definitely think it's worth a slot in there for, when those niche scenarios do come up. One Alolan Vulpix, as I mentioned before, if you start Magnemite or whatever, you can attach a metal, bridge it at this guy, and then Beacon. So you really only have to have a rare candy in your hand in order to get a turn 2 Magnezone. I originally wasn't thinking about this guy at all, and then I was having consistency issues, and I was like, oh, what better way than to search for 2 Pokemon for free? You're normally going to want to grab, like, Magnezone, and then you can even grab a Lele, because a lot of times with this deck, you don't have a supporter for the next turn. So, yeah, I mean, you don't really need, like, Gardevoir needs those 2 Pokemon. You need the Kirlia, like a double Kirlia, or a Kirlia Guardy, or like a double Guardy if you just have a God hand. So you don't need that with this. You just need the 1. But it's really sort of interesting. And definitely a consistency booster for sure. And the last Pokemon on the list is one Haram Baby right here. Its ability, you get to draw until you have 3 cards in your hand. This deck, because it doesn't run Zoroark, or I think it runs the 4, Ultra Ball, so not much thinning there. So Oranguru is definitely good to make sure you're drawing into that Guzma or whatever. You really need this guy. I was thinking about throwing a 1/1 Octillery or something to that matter, but I don't know. I didn't want to ruin the consistency or anything. Not that this deck has much. It's pretty much like a slightly worse Bulu, if you guys are wondering. Or not slightly worse. It was slightly worse when I first started, because I think I tried cramming Zoroark-GX into this deck and it just didn't work. So yeah, onto the supporter line. We have 3 Sycamore, pretty standard stuff. And for the purpose of testing for Sun and Moon, I actually decided to have 3 N and 1 Cynthia. This guy says you shuffle in your hand and draw 6. Me and my buddy Pokemaster Kenny have these arguments about N versus Cynthia, which one's better. I think I think N is 10 times better. Mainly the purpose of being just disrupting your opponent late game. Do you need to run 3? Probably not with Cynthia. I really don't have a preference. I just don't think that you can completely drop N for Cynthia. I don't think that Cynthia is a replacement for N. I just think that it's an enhancement to N, where you're not going to replace all your Ns for Cynthia. You're going to cut some of your Ns and maybe have some Cynthias. So this guy's good for late game when you want to get like all your metal energies or whatever. So yeah, that's my little spiel on N versus Cynthia. Maybe a 2-2 split. I could see in some decks, maybe 3 Cynthia, 2 N, maybe 4 Cynthia, 2 N, like they were doing with Professor Oak's New Theory back in the day. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what people decide to do in their decks. 3 your boy, because your boy. 2 Bridgetti, because Bridget is amazing, and you need 2 of them, or else you lose. And 2 Fisherman, probably the most questionable supporter card in the entire deck. But I promise you, Fisherman is super, super good. For the fact that you're discarding 3 energies every turn, you need something to get those energies back, and you definitely need something to start recharging for next turn. And you know, even if you use the GX attack or something, to be able to like Fisherman away like your old energies and start powering up a new Dusk Necrozma is very, very strong. So 2 Fishermen and this deck would approve, and you can attach all the energy right away with Magnezone. You know, obviously with something Volcanion, you're not gonna want to play Fisherman because there's no need, unless you're gonna like quad steam up or something. But yeah, anyways, we have 4 Ultra Ball, pretty standard stuff. 4 rare candy, maximum consistency. Of course, out of the 4 rare candy, we're only gonna be playing 1 of these, so you could justify 3, but like you need to draw into them. You know what I'm saying? You need to draw into those rare candies so you can get out the Magnezones as early as possible. For this guy, Order Pad. So if you guys don't know what Order Pad does, it says flip a coin, and if heads, you search your deck for an item card. This is just to give the extra consistency boost early game of getting out Magnezone. You know, even if you don't have like Order Pad Ultra Ball in your hand, you can still Order Pad for an Ultra Ball and then get out that Magneton for like some extra security, like just in case you whiff. I'm kind of sad it's not for a trainer card because that would just be stupid. But it's just an item card. But I definitely think this one card, I think, you know, I was just thinking about the whole thing about coin flip cards. You know, no one plays coin flip cards except for like maybe Crushing Hammer. And that's because they're just not that consistent. The way I see it, however, is that, you know, what was Trainer's Mail? You know, Trainer's Mail, look at the top 4 cards of your deck, and then take a trainer you find there, put it in your hand. The card that you want off of Trainer's Mail is probably not going to hit. Like, you're probably only going to hit it like less than half of the time. So, I mean, if you're using Order Pad, you're going to literally hit the card you want half of the time because you're flipping a coin instead of looking at the top 4 cards of your deck. So, I mean, and I don't know, if you're playing like a really stupid consistent, you know, trainer line, maybe your odds will be slightly more, slightly more than a half, but, you know, in a normal deck and expanded or whatever, it's going to be like around half or less than a half. So Order Pad is like, I think of it as the Trainer's Mail of this format. I don't know if every deck should play 4. I'm still testing with this thing, but this deck, I really like 4 in it. This was the 4 I did. I had the 2/2 Zoroark line, but not anymore because that was an awful idea. 2 Choice Band hits that extra damage on stuff like Decidueye, or even like Volcanion. I just noticed I don't actually run Field Blower in this deck. Yikes! Might want to cut some Order Pad, but and add like a 1/1 Octillery or something. But I don't know. The Field Blower is really only going to be good for those Fighting Fury belts, which is where the Choice Band comes into play. And to be honest, you don't really need to worry about the Fighting Fury belts, because even like on a Volcanion, you don't even need a Choice Band on a Fighting Fury belt Volcanion, is my point. But it's something like a Fighting Fury belt Dusk Necrozma, or a Decidueye-GX, or if people start playing Solgaleo-GX, because the new one's probably going to come out in Prism Star or something or other. So yeah, it gives that extra power output. Fighting Fury Belt. I never liked Fighting Fury Belt, mostly because every deck plays 2 Field Blower. But definitely think that 2 Choice Band is the way to go. 1 Stretcher, because not only is it good for like if you discard Magnezone like early game, you can get them back in rare candy form. It's also good very late game, when you can like Stretcher up like another Dusk Necrozma. You cannot rescue Stretcher your Solgaleo Prism Star over here, because that is a rule of Prism Star Pokemon, unfortunately. But yeah, it's very good for getting, or if they start sniping your Magnemite, so you need to get them back in there. I was thinking about playing like Zero Rescue Stretcher, but like the Magnemite threat early game is definitely why I put in the Stretcher. 3 of this, I have no room here. 3 of this new stadium card is called Mount Cornet. Once during your turn, each player may take 2 metal energies and put them right into your hand. So it's like energy retrieval every turn pretty much. Very, very good card. I was thinking about 4 of these, but unlike energy retrieval, you can't actually stack like Mount Cornets. You're capped at like 2 like energy back a turn. So that's why, you know, I was thinking like 2 Mount Cornet, 2 energy retrieval, because that way you can actually like stack with it. But I don't know, the energy retrieval with like Fisherman, like if you have Fisherman, I think you're fine. And the energy, I mean, I'll play, this is a final card count. I don't know how I'm gonna fit this on the camera here. Put it like right in front. We were on 12 metal energy. So like you're gonna be drawing into them. So I don't really think you need to stack energy retrieval and Mount Cornet, especially with 2 Fishermen, because I think Fisherman is definitely the more consistent option here. So yeah, that is the deck, Dusk main Necrozma-Magnezone. My final thoughts, I think this is slightly better Tapu Bulu Vikavolt. I think if top players decide to start playing this, I definitely think it'll be tier 1, tier S maybe, if people get it really rolling, even past what I have now. But if, you know, otherwise, if top players just stick to playing, you know, tier 1 stuff, maybe some Zoroark variants, I think Vulpix going to be pretty big. Just because it beats this. The top players start playing Vulpix, then I feel like this could kind of sink down to tier 2. I don't think it's going to be that tier 2. Like, it's not going to be like Bulu Vikavolt tier 2, but I don't think it's going to be like, you know, I don't think it's going to be tier 1 unless this thing makes it. Unless, I mean, it definitely could be tier 1, don't get me wrong. It's just a consistency factor. Like, stuff like Gardevoir, I think, is so much more consistent. But this does beat Gardevoir, and it can beat Volcanion. So, I mean, we'll just have to see. Tapu Bulu Vikavolt, I don't think was ever tier 1, but I definitely think that this thing could be tier 1 if it wanted to, if enough people gave it some hope. So, I mean, stuff like Cynthia is going to improve the consistency and stuff. The real problem is consistency. Maybe this will do a lot better because a lot of people just think Tapu Bulu Vikavolt's just a meme. And people will see this as an actual deck with potential because the GX attack gives it the edge. You know, the fact that you can Fisherman gives it an edge. But I don't know. We'll see because Pikachu Magnezone was never like tier 1 or anything. I definitely think this deck is good. I think it's very good. Yeah. And by testing, it's been really bad, but before I added Order Pan and Haram Baby here. But yeah, that is the list. Let me know if you liked the video. Let me know what decks you think I should profile next. I really want to build Lucario Garchomp because that sounds like so much fun. But yeah, catch you guys in the next video.